So, none of you know this, but this channel started out as a Tower of God channel, and I wasn't nearly as invested in the story as I thought I was, and eventually stopped making Tower of God videos, but I kept up with the story. Even now, as I've stopped reading the webtoon in order to get a few chapters to binge, I'm somewhat aware of the current events, and Tower of God's first season was good, but not the best, but certainly not the worst. So, what does it mean that the second season isn't being received so well? To get a better look at what I'm talking about, let's talk a bit about season 1. The first episode of season 1 starts exactly the way the webtoon starts, but immediately starts to pick up speed, which is noticeable, but not really a cause for concern, and begins to do what most anime adaptations do and remove and change small things for whatever reason here and there. And season 1 isn't too bad about this, although its breakneck pace did not help. And I might be alone in this, but I was actually a fan of the season 1 art design and animation style. I know some people thought it was off-putting, but I liked it. It really gave a unique vibe to the anime, and there were a lot of characters, but the focus was so narrow because all of season 1 is just setup, and therefore these characters don't need a lot of depth. And remember I said that because it comes back in season 2 and beyond. The story itself, even if a bit rushed, was enough that you didn't need every little aspect and detail one-to-one with the webtoon. And for the most part, season 1 didn't really take too much advantage of that. And by the end of season 1, the way that they had done just enough to get the story across had me under the impression that the anime was just a season-long commercial for the webtoon, and not a full-length adaptation. But upon the announcement of season 2, I went back and watched the first, and I came away thinking this is worse than I thought because in the webtoon, our view of the world is fairly narrow, but we still get glimpses of how the world works in the background or just one-off panels, but a lot of that is missing from the anime. For instance, Ivankel's mothership feels bigger in the webtoon, and that goes for the scale of pretty much everything else. In the anime, the test floor seemed like a dome, whereas in the webtoon, it really felt like this was an expansive giant area that could be as big as the size of a continent. But I think that's sort of on purpose because the Tower of God story, from my understanding, is part of a larger universe in SIU's story. And it probably feels a bit confusing to try and throw all of those elements in from the very beginning. But that's not all, even just some of the context is missing. Like, it's explained pretty well that Hidan picks people to climb the tower, and it's not just him showing up randomly. So there is a reason everyone is in the tower, but that's not really conveyed all that great in the anime. And it felt like more than what it was when Hwoarang calls Hidan the real master of the tower, or whatever he calls him, because it didn't feel like Hwoarang was saying something he believed. It felt like he was directly talking to the audience, and that could confuse some people. And maybe I could do a video about this on its own, but the one big change I thought was completely unnecessary was Bomb's Shinsu outburst in the Crown Games in Season 1. In the webtoon, it's barely even noticeable, but the fact that Bomb could control any Shinsu without a contract was already a huge cause for curiosity. But changing it in the anime to be this big, huge golden spectacle, and then have to see him in Season 2 and that's not even really referenced, it seems like Bomb, after all this training, is weaker overall than that one moment. It's a backtrack of sorts. It makes everything Bomb does later kind of feel smaller, because it's not this other colored overpowering thing that everybody is aware of and witnessing. And in Season 2, the pace picks up even more to the point where we're now missing important things, like Hwoarang's fight with Rap Devil, crazy ass name, and even just the way the time skip happened before the workshop battle. It was very jarring and made me go, wait, they're not even gonna address the fact that almost 2 years have passed. And in the webtoon, it's not that big a deal, but that's specifically because there's a flashback to Bomb's training. But in the anime, it just kind of happens. And if you haven't read the webtoon, you might not have even realized that that much time had passed. But here's where we get to a point that I don't necessarily feel the strongest about, but it is something to mention. Crunchyroll has kind of been dropping the ball on these releases. They've been late, wrongly titled episodes, and even the subtitles for an episode were for a whole different episode. And I'm less invested in that just because that's a process that can be fixed and won't really impact a viewer's experience as long as it's taken care of in a timely manner. But a lot of the things that people are not happy with about this show this season start before the animation even gets underway. And I think that's a big reason people are so upset by it, because this story is more than just the marketable things about it, and knowing where the story is going, I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they tackle the upcoming seasons, and if they end up doing that at all, because this pace, the amount of characters we are dealing with, and the amount of plot lines we have to focus on are about to triple, and there's no way the anime could keep up what it's doing for much longer. That's asking for a train wreck. But hey, that's the video. What do you think of Tower of God so far? And what would you change or not change? Let me know down in the comments and hit that like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video because I appreciate you watching. And until next time, peace.
That thunder on me clap, make a nigga think before he act. Have a nigga dying on his back, then we double back. Shooters leaving rubber where you at. That's why niggas never wanna match.